Cutting tools for a day in the bush. Cutting tools for a night in the bush. Hey, hello everyone. Hey, welcome to my channel, The Virginia Bushcrafter. Hey, if this is your first time here, this is a channel that's all about learning and practicing the skills of bushcrafting, prepping, and survival for the wilderness. So thank you for coming in and joining me for this quick session. But one thing about bushcrafting, unlike many other things, bushcrafting is a journey. There is no time limit, there is no destination. It's a continuous learning about Mother Nature and becoming self-reliant in the bush, learning to live off the land. So we know there are many skills, and just to name a few, starting out with communication, being able to communicate with someone at all times, first aid, cover, fire, water, food, and first aid. Now, we know that when it comes to shelter building, if you're going to be there just for one day, more than likely you're going to use a tarp or a tent. But practicing with the cutting tools, even if you're in the bush just for one day, is of the utmost importance. That cutting tool, again, is going to allow you to build a shelter. It's going to allow you to make a fire so that you can filter and purify your water. You can cook. It's going to help in building that fire. It's going to help you split wood. It's going to help you make kindling that's needed for the fire. Also to have fuel to keep the fire going. So again, now in my region, when I go into the bush just for one day, I take a hatchet with me. I take a belt knife with me. I take a smaller knife, and I take a saw. Those are 4 things that will always go with me into the bush, even just for one day. Now, the hatchet that I take with me, again, it is just that, it is a hatchet. 13 inches with a 3-inch cutting edge. Now, this hatchet is for splitting wood. It is for making kindling. It is for carving. You can use it for food prep. You can use this as a one-man tool. Because again, this is centered around camp tasks. Now, you can, but it's not feasible to take this hatchet into the bush and try to chop down a 6-inch dead standing tree. There are tools for that, but here is something that is very practical based on my region to take into the bush with me. And again, as I mentioned, I take a knife. This knife I prefer to be 5 to 7 inches. This is my belt knife. Here is an example of my belt knife. Again, this is a 7-inch cutting edge. With this knife, I can split wood, I can chop wood, I can carve. It's an all-around knife. To say specifically a bushcrafting knife, no, not specifically a bushcrafting knife, but it is a knife that can be used in camp alone. So again, this is 7 inches. I prefer 5 to 7 inches if I'm going into the bush for one day. Now, when I need to cut something to a specified length, I go with a saw. And the saw that I go in with just for one day, at a minimum, is a 7-inch cutting blade, saw blade, which is a Baco Laplander, a folding saw. Very portable, easy to carry, fits into your rucksack very easily. Cuts on the push and the pull. So again, now if I want to build a shelter, this comes in very handy. If I want to build a debris shelter or practice a debris shelter, this comes in very handy. And the next cutting tool that I take into the bush with me just for one day is a knife that is 5 inches or less, preferably with a Scandinavian grind cutting edge. Scandinavian cutting grind. This is going to allow me to really process a lot of kindling for a fire. Now with each one of these tools has a 90-degree spine. I can use them with a ferrocerium rod. I can even use this with a ferrocerium rod to start a fire. So again, in my region for a one-day outing, the basic tools is a hatchet, a belt knife, a carving knife, and a folding saw. Again, a lot of your cutting tools will depend on the region that you live in, and it's very important just to go out and practice with these tools. Learn as much as you can about these tools, the cutting edge. Again, now for cutting, most of the time you're going to want a convex grind. That provides more metal. It's much more durable. So that's one of the advantages of using a hatchet if you're going into the bush for one day. Again, a hatchet, a belt knife, my preference 5 to 7 inches, a carving knife that's 5 inches or less, and a folding saw. These are at a minimum for one day. All right, guys. So now in my region again, where there's a lot of wood, and if I'm going to be in the bush overnight, I'm going to take a different set of tools. And again, these tools will consist of a saw, a hatchet, a belt knife, and a carving knife. Now, when I'm in the bush overnight, I want to fire all night, and I need cutting tools, the proper cutting tools, to get this wood. Now, I may cut a log that's 10 inches, 8 inches. I need large logs for staying in the bush all night. And the first tool that I'm going to make sure that I have for an overnighter or longer is a large saw, preferably a buck saw. And this is the one that I am going to take into the bush with me. I have featured this before. This is an Agawa bow rail 24-inch with a very aggressive saw blade, the Sydney Wrench number 2. If you need to cut wood, massive wood, you're going to need a saw of this nature. There are many saws that will do the job, but this is the saw that I have that will go in with me if I am going to be in the bush more than one day, because I need a lot of wood, my preference. The next thing that I'm going to need, since I'm going to saw large pieces of wood, I need to split that wood into manageable pieces. Now here is where the axe come in. This is I believe a 14-inch, maybe 15-inch axe. It is very heavy. The head is very heavy, and this is mainly for splitting wood. Again, I'm going to saw a specified length. I'm going to take that wood to my campsite, and I'm going to split it. I'm going to use this to split it to make kindling as well. So this is something you need if you're going to be in the bush overnight. Now also, I carry a belt knife with me. In the bush for an overnighter, and I'm dealing with a massive amount of wood, I'm going to use a blade that is at least 10 inches. And one of my favorite cutting tools is a kukri. Now the reason I chose the kukri is because the tip of this, I can use it as a shovel. The middle portion, I can chop with it. The portion close to the handle, I can carve with it, making feather sticks. It has a 90-degree spine. I can use it to strike a ferrocerium rod. It chops well, it splits, it carves, it slices. So when you're in the bush overnight in my region, these are viable cutting tools that I take with me. The next tool that I take with me for an overnighter or longer is a knife, again, for carving and so forth, small tasks. And this is a 5-inch blade, 5-inch Scandinavian grind. This knife goes with me anytime I'm going into the bush, again, for overnight. So what I want to let you know, guys, depending on your region, where you live, the temperature will have a lot to do with the type of cutting tool that you go into the bush with. Again, if I'm going into the bush for just one day, I'm taking a hatchet, a belt knife 7 inches or smaller, a folding saw, and a 4-inch knife that's used for carving. If I'm going to be in the bush overnight, I need massive wood, whether it's summer, winter, fall, or spring. I'm going to cut a lot of wood because I will need it for shelter. I will need it for the fire. I'm going to take a an axe that splits well. And this is the smallest size I would take. This is for splitting. This is for making kindling and fuel. I'm going to take a blade that is at least 10 inches. My preference is a kukri, again, because I can use the tip for digging. I have a chopping edge here, and I have carving. And I have a 90-degree spine that I can use to strike a ferrocerium rod. And I'm going to take a knife that has a Scandinavian grind. Now, is this tool heavy? It may be, but for my region and the things that I do into the bush, it is needed. Again, shelter building, you're going to need heavy tools. So guys, I just wanted to come to you and hope this is good information for you, that consider your cutting tools. Your most important tools in the bush are your cutting tools. You can always find a can and use a can to source water, a bottle, anything of that nature. But to build a shelter and to be safe, you're going to need cutting tools. And it is imperative that you practice with these tools, learn as much as you can about these tools. Again, my one day, and I'm sure that the more you bushcraft, you will see the necessity of these tools. All right, guys, hope this is beneficial. Hey, get out in the bush, get those cutting tools out there. Hey, and enjoy Mother Nature. Hey, this is the Virginia Bushcrafter signing off. I will see you in the bush with the cutting tools. Stay safe, everyone.